Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I am talking about Rogue One, and specifically I'm talking about Jyn Erso and how she relates to other characters in Rogue One, and also there are spoilers all over this. So one of the things that I find very interesting in Rogue One is Jyn Erso is, I think, one of the most difficult characters to relate to. Even though we see more of her backstory than any other character. And I think the reason why is a lot of times when somebody is projecting something with their verbal words, I'm going to try to listen to them. I mean, words are incredibly important. When somebody's saying something, you should listen to them. And from the very beginning of the film, Jyn Erso is saying, I don't care about the rebellion, right? And I'm fine with the Empire being in control. As a Star Wars fan, that's really hard to get behind. That's really hard to get behind. And so, it really kind of put me off my footing as far as how I cared about Jyn Erso. Now, what I've come to understand, I've seen the film 3 times now, and one of the things that I've come to understand is that Jyn Erso is a complex character, and she communicates in 2 ways. She says one thing with her words and with her attitude, but she says something very different with her actions. Right? And so the very obvious one in the film is when she saves that little child, when she's on Jedha in the Holy City, and Saw Gerrera's militants break out, and they have that big fight in the market square, and she saves the child. This one's very obvious, and it happens very early on. But there are some other things that she does that are very, very surprising, that her actions are speaking directly against everything she's projecting with her entire personality and with all of her verbal words, right? And one of them is, throughout the movie, she has this antagonistic relationship with K2SO, right? And she really doesn't like K2SO. K2SO doesn't like her. There's a point where K2SO just drops her bag. And, after she's and she calls him target practice. And so she has this really interesting relationship with K2SO. But I only saw this in my 3rd viewing of the movie, right? So there's this situation where Chirrut Îmwe is encountered for the 2nd time. And essentially he is surrounded by stormtroopers. And at that point, when he's surrounded by stormtroopers, he takes out a whole group of stormtroopers. Then another group shows up, and Baze Malbus, who is essentially one of Chirrut Îmwe's friends, he's one of the Guardians of the Wills. He's an ex-Guardians of the Wills, right? And also someone who has a relationship with the Kyber crystals on Jedha, kind of a keeper of the Kybers. Right, so Chirrut Îmwe, wrecks all these stormtroopers. Baze Malbus gets up, wrecks a whole bunch of a 2nd group of stormtroopers that arrive, and then at that point you see Cassian Andor, you see K2SO, and you also see Jyn Erso, and they're encountering Chirrut Îmwe and Baze Malbus. And this is the first time Jyn Erso is encountering Chirrut Îmwe not as a beggar, but as a skilled combatant and as a force to be reckoned with. No pun intended there. And so at that point, what happens is K2SO sees that Baze Malbus has shot has essentially shot all the stormtroopers, and he says, all hostiles taken care of, right? Something a little bit similar. And at that point, Baze Malbus stands up, and he's got a fully automatic laser rifle, right, with this huge energy pod on his back. And K2SO immediately raises up his hands and, reassesses, and then says, 1 hostile, right? Saying, hey, we still have, people to deal with, right? And at that point, what's really fascinating is immediately Jyn Erso moves her body between K2SO and Baze Malbus, right? And I was like, holy cows. it happens really fast. It's like 5 seconds of the film, right? And then, you know, there's kind of a shift in body position, and it's not as clear that she just saved K2SO. I don't think Baze is going to shoot K2. Well, actually, you know, I shouldn't say that. K2SO, actually, Baze Malbus absolutely could have shot K2SO, because K2SO, and it's very easy to forget this in the film, he is an Imperial droid that has new programming, right? So Baze Malbus, you know, K2SO is completely a legitimate target, and so at that point, Jyn Erso gets in front of K2SO and blocks the laser blast that would shred K2SO and saves him, you know, which is really, really interesting. And this happens super early in the film, right? And so I guess at this point, her relationship with K2SO is starting to change, and certainly, and also I think her relationship with the rebellion is starting to change. And just very interesting. Now, one of the things I thought was, not only is Jyn Erso, you know, putting herself in danger to save someone that, by all her words and by her general attitude, she doesn't like. One of the other things is she's choosing to save a droid, right? Now, this has always been a fascinating part of Star Wars, where the droids are really treated as characters, right? And, you know, it really makes me wonder. So, one, I really credit it to Jyn Erso that she is doing a great job of marking her team, right? And maybe less than that. I don't think it's as ownership wise as, you know, you're my team, but just marking her allies. That's a better way to say it. So she, you know, she realizes that K2SO is there in the city to help her, and you know, and at that point, it's you know, she is like protecting K2SO because he's an ally. And so that I think is fully credited to her. I think there is an interesting perspective in Star Wars where droids are treated as people, right? And like this is an area where that is extremely clear. Jyn Erso, who is a human being, who if she gets a laser bolt through her, she's going to die, or she's going to take months or even years to heal, right? Whereas K2SO, and this is my perspective, and actually, so I absolutely love Star Wars, and I understand why they treat the droids as people, but it is one thing where I definitely disagree, and I think as we go forward, we're going to really need to assess how we treat tools, right? You know, so I have 2 toolboxes at home. Don't laugh, I'm not great with tools, but you know, I have a wrench, and I don't have a name for my wrench, you know what I mean? So like, this is one area where I think I definitely understand from a story perspective why they do it, but you know, to me, I don't think it's right for a human being to ever risk themselves for an object. You know, we are precious beings, you know, because, well, I'm an evangelical Christian. I believe the reasons we're precious is we're made in the image of God. You know, God has defined our value. And so, you know, I don't think we should ever be, be put into a threatening position just to save an object. You know, it's not worth it, right? I wouldn't, I don't think I would save. I would rather watch the Mona Lisa burn before I saw any person have a cut. You know, like, it's just the way it is, right? So I thought this is a really interesting aspect in the film. I do credit Jyn Erso for saving K2SO, because she is seeing him as an ally, right? And so for her, especially in that specific world, droids are treated as humans. But I'm only just calling it out, and the reason why is, oh my goodness, we are so close to a droid culture. Like, we have Alexa, and we have Siri, and we have Google, you know, you can talk to directly. And, there are so many machines that are doing things that humans do, and we're going to have to determine how we treat them. Now, you know, to me, when it comes to possessions, they should be treated, with stewardship. We shouldn't be wasteful, right? But we should always remember that they're objects. So, I just thought it was a really interesting aspect of how Jyn Erso interacted with K2SO. And also, it also is a credit to Rogue One, where I did not even realize this scene was in there, and how loud Jyn Erso's actions speak against her words and her general attitude. And that, I will also admit, I'm really coming to like the Jyn Erso character a lot as I think about Rogue One, but I really needed to think about Rogue One deeply before I come to like Jyn Erso. And the reason why is, Jyn Erso is she says two things. She says one thing with her actions, and she says one thing with her words. And they're pretty much 180 degrees apart, right? And that's hard. That's hard to get behind, right? But Jyn Erso, I think she was written very well. She's a very complex character. I think as I see the film more and more, oh my goodness, Rogue One is one of the films, I definitely think it is the Star Wars movie that rewards rewatching the most, right? Which is ironic, in that when you see it, you're just going to see layers and layers and layers. Layers in the characters, layers in the plot, layers in the locations, layers in the weapons, layers in, there's just, it's such a rich tapestry of art, right? And it's really an amazing film. But along those lines, it is ironic that the film where every character dies is this film that is really rich for rewatches. Very, very unusual and kind of a very unusual circumstance. So that's my really my take on Jyn Erso and how she related to her allies, and specifically how she related to K2SO. Take care.